Assembly had noted that there is an urgent need for the federal government to take drastic actions to bring to an end the acts of banditry and kidnapping in the northeast.
I rise to support very, very important motion. Yes. Mr. President, I can say that enough is enough. Because what is happening now in Kaduna, this shows that yes, we have to not only condemn it, we have to do something very serious. Because we cannot just sit down after declaring these bandits, terrorists, and then allow them again to continue with all these rubbish acts. So, Mr. President, we have to really look at it critically. I suggest that, yes, to me, I'm saying that, yes, the security agent, of course, maybe we assume that they are doing their best, but to me, I think that they need to do another best. Because look at 38 people. How can they just go and kidnap 38 people? After declaring these people as terrorists, why can't we just hear the few civilians in the bush and go and bomb all of them there?
We have enough security agents to take care of this menace. If it is the issue of recruitment in the army, we should also do the same. We have provided support to the security agents. I could remember last year alone, on supplementary appropriation, we approved over 865 billion naira. And this year's budget, I know we have close about 1.2 trillion naira. Mr. President, we are spending so much, and we are getting little in terms of, the outcome.
The expectation of this Senate is that there is supposed to be a remarkable difference in success in terms of the fight against insurgency, banditry, and militancy in Nigeria. The military is getting better funding from the government. And what we expect is to see improvement in output. I know the resources are not enough, but recently, in the last 1 year or 1.5 years, government has upscaled the level of funding for our military. Secondly, when we declared the bandits as terrorists, my understanding was that they are going to be dealt with ruthlessly now. I wonder whether that is the case. The military, like some of our colleagues have said, need to wake up.
The governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has presented 18 patrol vehicles to strengthen the military and volunteers in the civilian joint task force dedicated to patrols along the Maiduguri-Dikwa-Gamboro highway. According to a statement, Zulum presented the vehicles to Theatre Commander of Operation Adinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, while inaugurating the reopening of the economic road to commuters around Muna in Maiduguri. After the reopening, Zulum proceeded to Dekwa town to observe the free movement of commuters to Gamboro, a border town in Ngala local government area without restrictions by security operatives. Commending the governor's gesture at the occasion, the theatre commander described the reopening of the road as exciting. Fears have continued to mount over recent attacks by kidnappers in the Ogun and Oyo State axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. This is as Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State and his Ogun State counterpart, Dapo Abiodun, held a joint security meeting over the rising cases of kidnappings, armed robberies and other crimes along their boundaries. Speaking with IATV's Taiwo Olanrewaju, some road users expressed worry, saying the rise in cases of insecurity in the axis calls for urgent action.
Fears are mounting over recent attacks by kidnappers in the Ogun and Oyo State axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Some drivers and commuters who regularly ply the route, have expressed worry over the worsening level of kidnapping, which, according to them, started to get out of hand in December 2021. In a bid to provide solutions to the crisis, the governors of Ogun and Oyo State, Dapo Abiodun and Seyi Makinde, yesterday held a joint security meeting. Speaking with Impa News Crew correspondent, a senior lecturer at the University of Ibadan, Dr. Shola Ishola, said there should be collaborations between state governors, adding that the public also needs to show commitment by giving accurate information.
One of the strategies that can be used to curb kidnapping is the collaborations that are now taking place between the state governors. For example, yesterday, Governor Makinde of Oyo State met with Ogun State Governor, and they were able to discuss on way forward in order to curb the trend, because it is very apparent now that the border between Ogun and Oyo State, the communities along those borders, I mean, it is very, very common that kidnappings takes place and other kind of criminalities. So the tendency is that because of the of different security situation in the two territories, they will escape from one state to the other. But now with collaboration, the security people can work together. But above all, I think the public also have to show commitment to curbing kidnapping and other forms of crime by giving information to the security people.
Ishola, who also helped on the need for enlightenment and encouragement on the part of the citizens, added that the Southwestern Security Network should be transformed and empowered.
Amotekun has been trying, in spite of all odds. But of course, naturally, they have been handicapped because of the enabled law that has established them, and the fact that even the federal support, is not very strong, and the cooperation with the police is not also very strong. The Amotekun should be transformed into state police so that they are empowered more, and then they will be also constitutionally empowered to carry more sophisticated weapons in order to fight those criminals.
On his part, a security expert, Michael Olalekan Adeniji, lamented the fact that security challenges have increased with time. He noted that aside from having a plan to stop it, there should be a strong political will and proper capacity to achieve the goal.
We need to pull our resources together, put together a good plan on what we want to do about the insecurity. Insecurity is just like my people who have a saying that so there has to be a plan that we want to stop this thing. We have to be politically ready to stop it, because we can do good policies. But if our political nuances does not go towards that good policies, the good policy will not work. Our political environment pollutes our security environment, because you cannot remove the two from each other. We keep having the same problem over and over again, and government keep coming up with policies that they say, we're going to use this to solve it. But because they cannot follow through, because of political exigencies, we keep having the same problem over and over again.
As citizens, we must adopt a common strategy to find lasting solutions to these security challenges. Taiwo Olariwaju, IETV News.
Away from that, a socio-political group, the Coalition of Nigerian Youths, has called on young people to participate actively in the forthcoming 2023 general elections to effect the desired change and build the nation. In a statement in Abuja, the national coordinator of the group, Chukwuka Odimbo, lamented that young people, despite being more than half of the population, often find themselves marginalized from mainstream politics and decision-making. Odimbo noted that the youths are at the receiving end of bad governance, hence they cannot continue to be used by politicians to destroy the electoral process. They urged them to see themselves as the greatest asset the country has, be part of the nation's political process, and elect credible leaders without ethnic or religious sentiments.
It is on this note we call on every well-meaning Nigerian citizen, especially the community of youths, to take up a political struggle, either to participate actively in politics, as it is the only avenue to corrosively effect the change we want to see. Go out there and get your PVC ahead of the next general election in 2023. It is the only weapon we have to make a fundamental statement in the country, politics, and probably will cause a paradigm shift of power from the incompetent to the competent, old generation to the younger generation. 2023 is the only opportunity we have got to change the narrative. If we don't get it right as youth in 2023, it will take donkey years to actualize our desire for a more prosperous Nigeria. It is time to stand and defend your country. If otherwise, posterity will not forgive you.
The United Nations Children's Fund has disclosed that the agency will be needing more than 2.4 billion naira to meet the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals target in eliminating female genital mutilation globally. The United Nations agency made the announcement in a statement ahead of the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, which is observed annually on the 6th of February. The body also raised concerns that the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic could reverse decades of global progress in ending the practice. According to the agency, an additional 2 million cases of the female genital mutilation may occur over the next decades if the pandemic continues to disrupt programs. As the People's Democratic Party's caucus in the National Assembly call on President Buhari to sign the re-amended 2010 Electoral Bill 2022 into law without further delay, IATV's Rohima Lawa went round town to sample the opinions of Nigerians on the delay in signing the re-amended bill.
The President has a right not to append his signature to the bill. However, having also read the news about the bill, even though I have not seen the bill myself, the argument of the presidency is that it will more approving that bill will cost more, because what it means is that you are going to go to the grassroots to determine who becomes a leader, and the political parties' involvement will be more. It will cost them so much to do. Again, we can also argue that democracy is about the people. It's in the hand of the people. So, but looking at it either ways, I think for me, that's not even for me. It's not going to solve any problem. Because the political parties are owned by people and they run it as business. So whether you determine it at the grassroots level or is by appointment, we have deficit of leadership. That will not solve it. Thank you.
Family can be easily hijacked by the money bag. We have had that experience during the Israeli party we had in recent memory. We have some people like people just went ahead and bought all the delegates up. So that's it. I think it was a great mistake. It was. I think by now he must have seen he must have realized his error. And in fact, the same Arab Amari was not in Ekiti. Yeah, I think it was in Ekiti lately. So he has no excuse.
When we are talking about the electoral bill, though there are certain aspects of it that may be beneficial, but the president thinks that it is going to be more expensive and it can create a lot of chaos in society. The situation whereby they say all the primary must be direct primary. When you want to organize direct primary in a state like Oyo State, where you have about a lot of wards, the local government have wards, people are not mature enough to handle such situation. Even the one we are doing presently, we are confronting one problem or the other, rather than exposing it. There are a lot of problems. I think that is the wisdom the president is using not to sign the electoral bill.
My personal opinion on Buhari's refusal to sign the electoral bill is that the way he looks at it is not the way the masses are looking at it. The masses are of the opinion that the electoral bill will pave way for improved Nigeria. But on his own part, he was looking at it from the way of economy. And this, if put side by side, people's opinion should override the president's opinion. So my opinion is that the electoral bill should be signed so that we can move forward from the point that we are now.
The lawmaker representing Iseyin Tesiwaju and the Kajola Iwajowa Federal Constituency in Oyo State at the House of Representatives, Shina Pella, has said that the intention of his bill has been misconstrued to mean the scrapping of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, when it actually seeks to make the Nigerian Police Force absorb the security outfit. It will be recalled that Pella had sponsored the National Security and Civil Defense Corps Bill, which passed first reading earlier this week. The bill seeks to repeal the National Security and Civil Defense Corps Act and also establish a Transition Management Committee to supervise the NSCDC. It also seeks to develop regulations and implement procedures for the transfer of assets and personnel of Corps to the Nigerian Police Force and other related matters. In the meantime, the House of Representatives has urged the federal government to make concerted and conscious efforts to secure the future of the country through the diversification of resources. In a motion moved by a member of the House, Chinedu Obidigwe, it charged the federal government to focus more on the non-oil sectors of the economy by adopting alternative sources of revenue to enable foreign inflow. Obidigwe also expressed concern that the federal government spent over 1.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in the first 5 months of the year 2021. He added that the amount represents approximately 98% of the total revenue generated in the same period. He also called for the urgent control of population growth with policies necessary to fix future population.
Projected growth of 5.3 million by 2050 has a future fund of 700 billion to cater for their future population, whereas Nigeria, with an approximate population of over 200 million and estimated population growth of 401 million people by 2050, has a future generation fund of only $2.5 billion. The House worried that the federal government has spent over 1.8 trillion naira on debt servicing in the first 5 months of the year 2021, representing approximately 98% of the total revenue generated in the same period, which begs the question of where the savings are. The House resolves: 1. Urge the federal government to make concerted and conscious efforts to secure the future by A. Increasing earning and diversification of resources. B. Focusing more on non-oil sectors of the economy by adopting alternative sources of revenue to enable foreign inflow from oil earnings to go straight to the sovereign wealth fund without affecting budget financing.
Her mentor, her teacher in the school, and at the end of the day, she was harmed and killed by that tragic accident. Mr. Speaker, part of my prayers here are to appreciate the Kano State Governor under the leadership of our great leader, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, for giving all the supports to the operatives that are front of the issue in making sure the so-called guy was arrested and justice has been rendered. And Mr. Speaker, I want also this honorable chamber to acknowledge the effort of security personnel. Successful operations lead to the arrest of the suspected criminal and collaborators through a strategic intelligent gathering and tactical security operatives. Also, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I clearly condemn the ghastly acts and constitute a delegation, if possible, to see how they can commiserate with Kano State government and the family of the late deceased.
An Abuja-based human rights lawyer, Belumi Olajengbesi, says Yoruba rights activist Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, will soon be released from detention in Benin Republic. He also scolded Yoruba leaders for being selfish. It will be recalled that Igboho has spent over 200 days in Benin Republic detention since he was arrested at Cotonou Airport en route to Germany alongside his wife in July 2020. This is coming barely 48 hours after members of Agbekoya Worldwide asked the authorities of Benin Republic to free Igboho, although use traditional means to get him out. On the foreign scene, a sculpture of an Algerian military hero was vandalized in central France today, hours before it was inaugurated. The artwork, which was commissioned to mark 60 years of Algerian independence from France, depicts Emir Abdelkader, who was once dubbed France's worst enemy. Abdelkader led the struggle against the French invasion of Algeria in 1830. He was imprisoned for 4 years in French town of Amboise, where the new sculpture now stands. To end the news, another look at the major items. Buhari tells Palestinian authorities to continue to fight for justice. United Nations Children's Fund says about 2.4 billion naira investments needed to end genital mutilation. Governor Zulum distributes 18 patrol vehicles to military to help in fighting insurgency. That ends news round on Impact